Hey guys, it's Margaret from Let's Learn to Sew, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to draft a skirt sloper. And we do have a supply video up that goes over all of the tools that we suggest to make pattern making easier, but for this video, for the skirt sloper in particular, you're going to need your measurements. We do have a downloadable printable PDF that's going to walk you through each of the steps and include a section for calculating your measurements. I suggest working in pencil and have an eraser nearby. I'm going to be using a marker, but only so that you guys can see my lines easier. Normally I use a pencil. Tracing wheel is going to be helpful. If you have some Scotch tape, just a couple of small pieces are going to make doing your darts easier. And then a styling ruler or a French curve, and a see-through ruler if you have one. If not, a regular ruler will work. So first things first, we've got to take care of our measurements, and I suggest downloading the Fraction Plus app. It is great for all of your pattern making measurements, and it is available on Apple or Android for free. Talk about it for just a second here. This side here is your whole numbers, and then here's your fractions. There's your fraction bar. So when we do a pattern, we use quarter measurements because you have a front and a back, and each of those has two sections. So you have two fronts and two backs. First, I'm going to go ahead and do the measurements for this person, and then I'm going to show you why this app is handy. Her measurement is 32, so obviously 32 divided by 4 is just going to come out to 8. We can do that in our head. But what if her measurement had been, say, 36 and a half? So we've got 36, then we come over to the fraction section and put in her fraction, and then divide that out by 4, and it comes out to 9 1/8. It's just going to ensure that all of your measurements are accurate. It's going to make it a lot faster and a lot easier if you're not great at math. So let's go ahead and get started plotting everything out on our paper. A quick note about your measurements. If you're not sure how to take accurate measurements, we do have a blog post and a printable PDF that you can download that's going to walk you through how to take your measurements and give you a spot to record them on. First measurement that we're going to mark out is going to be our length, and that was from our waist down. I like to give myself a couple of inches on either side. And there we go. By habit, I grabbed my pencil. So we're going to line everything up here on our ruler, make sure we've got a straight line, and then I'm going to come all the way down, and I like to mark as I go. So this first marking down here is going to be A, this marking down here is going to be B. We're going to label as we go, so this is our center front fold, because remember we always do the front of a pattern, or almost always it's going to be placed on a fold. Now we're going to do our measurement from waist to hip, and for this one it was 8 inches, so I'm going to line up here on A, and I'm going to make a mark at 8 inches. We're going to come to that marking from waist to hip and come out our quarter hip measurement. That is 8. Right, now we're going to go from B out to that quarter hip measurement, which was 8. We're going to do that again down here at A. Want to make sure you keep your ruler straight. And now what we want to do is close in that rectangle. So you're going to line up your ruler on all of those marks and make a line straight down. So at this point, it doesn't look much like a skirt, but it's going to very, very quickly. So what we need to do now is to measure our darts. So we're going to come in this mark up here, and we're going to go in 4 inches and make a mark. So I'm going to line up 4 inches, and I'm going to make a mark. Then I want to make another mark on the 1/2 inch mark on either side. Now on the center mark, I'm going to come down 3.5 inches. Okay. Now we're going to create our dart legs by joining this mark up here down to the bottom point. Same thing on the other side. There you go. Now you have a dart. Now at this point we don't really have any type of waistline marked. What we're going to do is go ahead and do the calculations for that, and this is where that app really comes in handy. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do our measurements for our quarter waist measurement. Her waist measurement was 26 inches. We've got to add in 1 inch for the front dart. We've got to add in 2 inches for the back darts. And now that gives us 29. So we're going to put our 29 here. We're going to divide by 4. So 7 1/4 is going to be that measurement for the waist, which is 7.25. This is going to make it so much easier, like I said before, for you to quickly and accurately calculate your waist and hip measurements. So now we're coming in 7 1/4 to make our mark. From that measurement is come up 1/2 inch. There we go. Now we're going to grab our hip curve. If you don't have a hip curve, what you can use is a playable, something that's going to give you that nice smooth curve. What we want is a gradual line. What we want to do is to make the next curve, and that's going to be from this spot here down to our waist to hip measurement. And you're just going to move your ruler around until you get a nice smooth section. Okay, so this is our new line. This is going to be our cutting line. Let's go ahead and really quick mark this out. So this line here is 20 inches. The measurement down is 8. And that's waist to hip. And then our hip measurement was also 8 inches. I like to mark it just so that when I go back later to look at it, especially when I'm doing them for customers, if there's been any changes, I can quickly see that. Now what we need to do is to take care of this front dart. This is our front fold. This would be towards the back. We always want to take our darts and fold them to the back. So what we're going to do is pick this up. We're going to put a crease in it, and we're going to bring it over, just like if you were sewing and you were matching up your dart. We'll grab a piece of tape to hold it in place. And this is going to make it easier for us to make our dart peak. Take the notch tracing wheel and just run it over there a couple of times. Open that up. And it's not going to be a real big difference, but you're going to be able to see it and feel it. And what we're going to do is just connect those dots, and that's going to give us our peak for when we're transferring our markings. At this point, we're ready to go ahead and cut out our center front sloper. And we want to follow that new waistline that we made and the curve on our hip. That is our front sloper, and again, this is using those quarter measurements. At this point, we're ready to go ahead and we can move on to drafting the back section. Everything's going to be pretty much the same between the back and the front. The biggest difference is going to be those darts. So I'm going to come down 20 inches, make my mark. So here's my A and my B. Okay, our next measurement for C, we're going to line up on our hip quarter measurement. For this person, it was 8 inches. That's going to be C. Now, from A down, just like before, we're going to do our waist to hip measurement. Make a mark. That was 8 inches. And come across the 8 inches, which is their quarter hip measurement. Now we're going to come down to the bottom to B, and we're going to do the quarter hip measurement again. Make sure you keep everything lined up. That's why these clear rulers are great. Now what we want to do is enclose our rectangle. Okay, so for our first dart, we're going to come in 2 3/4 and make a mark. Then the length on this first dart is going to be longer than the ones that we did on the front. We're going to come down 5.5 inches and make a mark straight down. Now, just like before, we're going to have a 1/2 inch on either side of our dart. So we'll mark those. And we'll swing around, do the other one. Okay. Now for our next dart, it's going to be smaller than this one. We're going to come over 1 1/4 inches from this line here. And we're going to make a mark. And from that mark, we're going to come down 3.5 inches. So, like I said, it's smaller than the other one. It's going to have a 1/2 inch on either side. I wanted to mention again, your dart placement may end up changing when you do your muslin. This is just a rough idea to test it out. I am going to include that sheet that is going to give you a better idea of where to place these darts based on your exact measurement. This is just pretty much industry standard for pretty much just the generic body type, but like we've talked about before, we're not all the same body type. We're shaped different. Even size 6s can be shaped completely different from one another. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to make that marking for our waist. Line up 7 1/4 from A, and we're going to make a mark. We're going to come up a 1/2 inch on that mark. Okay, grab the French curve. And for this one, we're going to come from this 1/2 inch mark all the way over to this leg on this dart. And again, we want it to be a smooth, gradual line. There we go. Now, if you remember from the front, we're going to come down and make our next curve. Go ahead and I'm going to extend my dart legs so that they go into this curve. And I know some people go ahead and they draft their waist and then their darts. Either way is fine. Quick marks real quick though. So this is center back, and it was 20 inches, and that one's 8 inches. So we always want to bring our darts to the back. So we're going to make a crease here and bring it in. I'm going to put down the tape. open that up. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Make a nice crease and bring it down. Another little piece of tape and run it along that line. Okay, so now we can fill those lines. Grab your ruler and go ahead and mark your peaks. Can't really fill them on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time. There we go, much better. Okay. And at this point, we're ready to go ahead and cut this out. And remember when you're cutting to cut on your new lines. I like when I'm using pencil to go ahead and erase most of the old lines. Okay, at this point you have drafted your front and back skirt sloper, and I'm going to go ahead and real quick on the front one, just make a reminder, you cut 2 on the fold. This has a center back, and we don't do it on the fold, so we're just going to mark this as cut 2. I've already got it marked as the center front and back, but you could do skirt sloper front and skirt sloper back. Once you get everything marked up, you have your front and back skirt slopers done. Remember, there's no seam allowance added. We don't add a seam allowance to a sloper. We're going to do that in the next step when we transfer this onto our actual pattern paper. So if you want to get a head start on the next step, you can go ahead and do that. We'll pick up in the next video with adding seam allowances. Okay, wanted to make a quick mention. I think when I labeled this, I said that we were going to label it as cut 2 on the fold. It is just cut 1 on the fold. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments section and I'll be happy to answer them. If you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and I'd love it if you give the video a thumbs up. Be sure to visit letslearntosew.com for all things relating to pattern making and sewing.